Welcome back. We are now going to add in a standard PayPal account. And so in order to do that, we're then going to go to the Tools menu. We're going to go and click Add an Account. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to click the checking account. We're then going to write in the name of our financial institution, and we're just going to write in PayPal. You'll notice then that you have your PayPal account there. You're then going to click PayPal. Quicken will then ask you for the name that you normally use to log into PayPal, as well as the password, and then you'll want to save this inside of Quicken. So you can go ahead and write in your login and password for PayPal. And once you've done that, you can click Save this password. You'll then be required to enter your vault password. And then once you do that, you will then click the Connect button. Quicken will then start looking for your account at PayPal to begin looking for the transaction data. Quicken will then find this information. You can then designate how you want this to be classified. So for example, if you want to classify it as a savings account, you can do that, but typically you would classify it as a checking account. You can then choose as to whether or not you're going to have the data added. So you can actually choose not to download all of the data into Quicken. You will still have your account connected, and then at a point at which you designate, you can have your account transaction pulled into Quicken. But since what we're going to do is we're going to choose a point in time to create a financial statement, it's actually okay to go back and have data from the past added to your Quicken. So in most cases, you're going to leave this checked where it says Add to Quicken. We're going to write a nickname for that account, and we can actually edit that where it says nickname. And then we can designate how this account is primarily used. And so we're going to then click Business. And what this does is this actually will associate certain transactions with business-related categories as they come across from Quicken. So what we're going to do now is we're now going to click the Next button. Quicken will then start adding the transaction data. You'll then see that your PayPal has then been added. You'll also note that it has been synced to the Quicken cloud, where you can also access from your mobile device. Once you've done that, you'll then click Finish. Quicken will then sync your data. You'll then get a message that your data has been synced to the cloud as well as to your account. Then PayPal and all the transactions typically that you've had over the last 90 days will then be entered into Quicken. And you will then have this data that you will have ready that you can start working with. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We are now going to go through a step that you will be going through every time that you download transactions into your Quicken. You'll want to do it at the beginning when you first download transactions, and then you'll want to do it on a regular basis when you start bringing transactions over. And that is determining what category an event actually is. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to go through each transaction. And initially, this was going to be a lot of work when you first pull transactions over. Obviously, when you're doing less and you're doing this more frequently, it won't be as much work. So all you'll need to do is to come to the category area. When you notice a transaction, you will bring this drop down arrow. And then what you're going to do is you're going to determine what it actually is. If it is business income, you're going to click this link. And then you might determine that it is one of the categories that Quicken has already given you. However, what you could do is you could create a new category. And if that is the case, then what you're going to want to do is to click this blue button that says New Category. You're then going to write in the name of the category that you're going to be tracking. You'll determine if it is an income or an expense, and then you'll also determine if it is a subcategory. So maybe perhaps you already have an income category or an expense category, and you like for this new category to just be a subcategory of the one that's already there. If that's the case, what you're going to do is you're going to click this button, and then you'll use the drop down arrow to find the subcategory. And Quicken has a list of those that are already embedded in the program. It's a good idea to write in a description of what this category actually is. And once you've determined what you're going to do, you're going to make sure that your descriptions are what they say they are. You briefly want to take a look at the tax reporting tab. Now, in general, when you are setting up these categories, you do want to check with your tax professional, since the reports you'll be using, you'll be passing on to them at the end of the year or at the point of a tax year. So as you determine what tax-related category you're going to determine this to be, make sure that you're checking with the person that's actually going to be working on your taxes. So once we've done that, we're going to click Save. What you're then going to do is you'll go through each transaction when you pull them over. And again, this is going to be the case as you do this on a regular basis. You're going to determine what the transaction actually is. So in the one case, everything on the deposit side will tend to be income transactions. Everything on the right side will be expense transactions. And again, you will be determining how you categorize these transactions. You want to try to be consistent so that when you start doing reports, you'll know what you are looking at. So for example, when you determine that there's a fee, you can just actually go and search for the category if you think it's already in Quicken. And when you do the search, Quicken will bring up a list of the fees or whatever it is that you are searching for that is available. And then you'll be able to just click the link to determine this to be something that's already there. So now once you've decided on an account's category, all you'll then need to do is then sync this to your Quicken account. And you can do that by going to the one-step update, and then you can just do a one-step update either of all your accounts or just the one that you're working on. In this particular case, this is the PayPal standard account. You'll get a warning notification from Quicken, and then you're going to click Update Now. Quicken will watch the progress, and your account is then updated, and you can click Close. So then you will have updated one entire account once you have actually brought transactions in. And you'll want to do this for every account that you bring over initially, and you'll also want to do this on a regular basis as you update the account. Now, obviously, you're going to be doing this more with your revenue accounts as well as your main expense accounts. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, there are a couple of special scenarios to think about when you are going to add in a PayPal for Business account. So if you were to go to the Tools menu and you would click Add Account, and then you were going to add in another checking account, and you were going to add in another PayPal account. You'd click PayPal, and then Quicken will actually be looking for either the email address that you use to log into PayPal or your PayPal password. Now, in some cases, you might run into a scenario where your user ID will not be accepted by Quicken. When that's the case, you're going to get an error message from Quicken, typically because your email address may be too long in order to create the kind of PayPal ID that will be accepted by Quicken. And so what you'll need to do when you have a business PayPal account is to log into that account to create a PayPal user ID. You are then going to log in and go to the profile section. When you get to the profile section, you're going to go to this link that says My Settings. That's going to bring you to the settings area of your profile page. When you do that, you're going to click this update link where it says Manage Users. Once you're in that screen, you are then going to click Add User. And then you're going to create a user ID and password for the Quicken account that you're going to be using. Once you have all the data in, you're then going to click Continue. You'll then determine permissions, and typically what you're going to want to set up is a virtual agent. That'll give you the ability to use this ID to schedule and download transaction history and run a settlement report. Once you've done that, you'll then click Continue. Once you've completed this, you can click Done. Then you can then go back to Quicken. You're then going to use your new user ID as well as your new password. Once you've done that, you'll click Save this password, and then you'll click Connect. You will then have connected your PayPal for Business account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We are now going to go through the process of adding a bank account to our Quicken system. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Tools menu. We're going to go and add an account. And then what we're going to do is we're going to then click Checking. Now what you'll want to do is to search for your financial institution by name, and you can start by writing in that name into the search box. And once you have that name, what you're going to do then is you're then going to click Next. And then you'll be asked for your login and password from your online account. You'll then write that information in. You'll then click Save this password, and then you'll click Connect. And just as you did with PayPal, you will add in this information. And once you've determined the information correctly, you'll then click Next. Then you will have completed the process of adding your bank account. And you can add as many bank accounts as you like. You can add in bank accounts from significant others. Anything that is associated with your business that you spend money either for or from, you can add to your Quicken account. Once you've completed the addition of this new bank account, you're then going to click Finish. You'll then go through the same process that you used when going through PayPal. You will then look at each individual expense, and you'll determine if it is a business expense or a personal expense. And if it is a business expense, you will then change the category and determine how you want to categorize it on your financial statement. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, in some cases, Quicken will actually guess as to what your categories are for a particular expense or income source. However, you will notice that on your home screen for Quicken, you'll typically be told that there are some uncategorized transactions. So whatever you haven't categorized and whatever Quicken did not guess to categorize, there will be a warning here that you have some transactions that you will want to then categorize. You can actually then click this button. What you can do then is you can click inside of each one of these transactions, and then you can actually use the drop down arrow, or you can create a new category. Once you've clicked the category, you'll then click Save. You'll be required to put in your transaction password. And then you'll notice that you now have 3 uncategorized transactions. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and categorize all of your transactions until you have taken care of everything in this screen. Now, once you've categorized all your expenses, whether or not you have categorized them based on what came over when you downloaded it or whether you entered it manually, you are then ready to start looking at reports to determine your financial position for your business. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Now, one of the things that Quicken Home and Business does is it actually mixes both the cash and accrual counting methods so that you'll be able to look at your business at a glance in a very simplified way. What that means then is we can take a look at payments that we know we're going to have to make based on our recurring patterns to be able to look at our cash position. So one of the things that we can do is we can actually go to this Tools menu. We can then go to this link that says Manage Bill and Income Reminders. And based on the information that Quicken has pulled over, it will try to guess about which payments you're making on a regular basis. And typically they will put them in a screen that gives you a couple of choices. And you'll notice these that you'll see here, that there are two, and you're looking at them here. So what we can do with these transactions is that we can actually do what's called scheduling. And when we schedule them, Quicken will actually place them on a calendar so that we'll know we have those payments that are going to be due, they're going to come out of our account, and then we'll be able to look at what's going to happen in the future. So what we'll do in this case is we will go to this area where it says action, and then we will click yes. And what we're saying yes to is we're saying yes, we want to schedule this in the future on our calendar. Now we can make any edits that we want to make inside of this screen. Most importantly, you'll notice that Quicken will remind us that this actually comes out of our account every 27th day of the month, and this was evident when the data was pulled over from your account. We'll note that it is from a particular PayPal account, and what we can do is we can actually add in the category that it's going to come out of every time. So we can actually do that in this bill reminder. When we do that, you're going to notice that we can actually write in the category, and we can use one that we've used previously, or we can create a new one as we have in other places. We can write a memo to ourselves. This memo is going to show up every month, and then we can actually tag it with some additional information. We can use tags that are already in place, or we can actually add a tag. Once we've written in the information we want for this recurring payment, we can actually click OK. Quicken will then have us tell it that we want to add a new tag. We'll click Save. Now we can actually add in data, and whenever you have the opportunity to add information, it's a good idea to add some of this information in when you have the opportunity and when you actually have the time. More information is typically going to be better than less when you're documenting what it is that you're actually doing. You can actually sync this to Outlook, and what this will do is this will remind you on your Outlook calendar that there's a payment that's going to be coming out of your account. If you were going to actually pay this out of your bill, or whether or not it's going to come out automatically, and you want to just make sure that you know that it's going to be coming out of your account. If you were actually going to be writing a check to pay this, you can actually do that with this particular box. So once we've completed this, we can then click the Done button. Once we've done that, we can then click the Enter button. Once we do that, we can actually enter this transaction into our register. We can determine how it's going to be paid. If it's going to be paid automatically, we can call this an EFT, and then we can click Enter Transaction. When this transaction happens inside of our account and we pull this data over at that point in the month, Quicken will actually match the two transactions and will not double count it. So we can actually do the same with any of the other transactions that we have here. And we can do this in a way so that, again, when Quicken brings the information over, it will match the information that we're putting in, talking about transactions that will happen in the future. So let's go ahead and change this transaction. And when we'll do this, you'll notice that Quicken has made a guess as to what this is, and it's guessed that this is a home bill. We want to actually go ahead and change that category. I'm going to do that by changing this to a business expense, and we want to do that and change it to the proper expense. Once we've done that, we can then click Done, and then we can enter this transaction into the register. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. As you can see, once you have completed the initial setup, you'll need to do some work on a regular basis in order to maintain and manage your financial position in Quicken. And one of the things that you can do to make that easier is you can actually memorize certain payments and payees. And to do that, all you'll need to do is go to the Tools area, and then you'll need to go to the Memorize Payee list. Now, if you have certain payees and certain transactions that happen on a regular basis, what you can do is memorize them so they will always be placed into the same category when they come in. So for example, what you can do is you can actually go to your list, find those payments that come in or those payments that you make on a regular basis, and then you can click the checkbox. Once you do that, you can then click the edit button. And then you can actually change the category to the one that you'll be using on a regular basis. You can actually tag the category and you can write in a memo. But what you're basically doing is you're memorizing this payee so that whenever it comes in, it goes to the same place every time to make it easier to manage. And of course, if this transaction comes over in some of those that you download from accounts, you can actually untick this button because you actually want to memorize the transaction as it comes. You're then going to click OK. You can actually place in a new payee by clicking the New Payee button. And you're going to be memorizing this transaction whenever it comes in, even if it doesn't come over from those you download, it comes in when someone actually pays you. If it happens on a regular basis, what you're doing is you are lessening the amount of manual work that you're going to be doing every time a payment is made. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. You are now looking at a PayPal receipt or something that was paid for most recently. And one of the things that Quicken can help you to do is to track these receipts and to keep them associated with transactions inside of the program. And so what you would do is you would take a receipt like this, which has come to you by email, and you would print it into a PDF document. And to do that, you would go to this print menu and click print. And the printer you would choose would be to save this document as a PDF. So instead of clicking print, you're actually going to click this save button. So you'd come back to your Quicken account, and what you'd do is you'd find the transaction that goes with that receipt. You'd go to the line item and you'd click this gear. When you get to the menu, you would then click attachments. Quicken would then give you this menu, and what you do is you'd go to this add button, pull the drop down, and then click add file. Once you find the file, you'd click this add button and then click open into the program. Now Quicken will allow you to attach PDFs, Word documents, and text documents. So once you actually have the document and it's there, you actually have some other options. You can actually export this document to another directory that you'd be keeping track of your receipts, you'd be backing them up, and then you'd be placing them in a cloud drive. You'd also be categorizing them and keeping track of them as you go. The benefit of doing this means that you will have all of this information organized for your tax time. And once you've completed the processing you want to do, you're then going to click Done. Once you have that, you're then going to click the Save button. You'll note then that inside of Quicken, you'll see the attachment. That means then that Quicken now has this receipt. It has been attached, and you now have a notation right next to the transaction where it actually happened. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.